Good morning.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Judge.
Morning, Judge.
Morning,
Quiet,
Judge.
support, my lady. Good morning.
Good morning, Judge.
Please call the matter into the record.
Okay. Today is the 19th of November, 2021. Calling the matter of Life Esidimeni Inquest, case number I-001 of 2021.
The witness is reminded that he is still under oath. Mr. Chavangu, you may proceed with your cross-examination of the witness.
As a court, Mrs. Malady. Good morning, Mr. Mosenori.
Good morning, Tate Shaba.
Right. Let's continue where we left yesterday. Can you hear me very well, Mr. Mosenori?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mosenori, yesterday we touched on the meeting resolutions that was chaired by you. Now, in considering the resolution as agreed in that meeting that you chaired, do you think that those resolutions will take into consideration the concerns raised by the CEO, Ms. Nyatlo, regarding the space or enough accommodation for the mental health care users?
The resolutions was as part of the discussions. I think they came out of the discussions. So
Yes.
they should have considered all aspects.
Including the concerns that she raised of the space.
Yes, I think it was part of the discussions of everything that was discussed in both the earlier meeting and the second meeting.
Thank you. Now, did you put any monitoring measures in place to see to it that the mental health care users will not be negatively affected by this resolution as agreed in that meeting?
The operators should have done that.
The operators, who are you referring to?
The people who were implementing the move to Cullinan, I think they should have taken cognizance of any risk.
Were you aware if that was taken?
From my point at the provincial office, I will not be aware of the details, but there was nothing that was indicated me negatively. That was indicated negatively to me.
No, I mean, on this particular meeting, you didn't make sure, you yourself as the project manager, that what we have put in place, it's being done. Did you do some spot check to see that it is being?
No, I didn't do myself. I did not do spot checks.
Thank you. Now, going forward, Mr. Mosenori, on this meeting, the first one and the second one, and these challenges, this also mentioned that there were already 2 deaths that has already occurred at that NGO. Are you aware of that?
At that particular time? No, I wasn't aware.
Which NGO is that?
Yes, at Siabadinga.
Okay.
Were you not aware, Mr. Mosenori?
Yes.
When you sign these challenges that I referred to you yesterday, didn't you read the part that dealt with the death?
Advocate, the letter that was read yesterday, it was written by the responsible manager. So when I signed it, I signed it because she thought that as a project manager, I must be able to know what she has written before it goes to the other authorities.
So you signed it without reading it, but you gave?
I did read it, but I will not remember everything in it.
You see, Mr. Masonoku, we are going back like yesterday where you don't remember anything, but you sign, and that's a problem because now, if you look at these challenges, 2 deaths has occurred, and then you sign, but you came with resolutions.
As I said, the resolutions are part of the discussions. They emanate from the discussions from everybody.
And these resolutions,
They are not my resolutions. They are the meeting's resolutions.
but you chaired the meeting.
Advocate, you remember that there were 2 meetings.
Yes, we have agreed yesterday that there were 2 meetings. Even the challenges talk about
And
2 meetings.
I was called into that meeting by Dr. Libete when he left off. You remember?
That's true. Yes,
Yes.
you're correct.
So he came back. I don't know whether he took over the chair or I was still the chair, but even if he took over or I continued to chair, but the meeting was out of the discussions, the resolutions were made. And as I said, I will not challenge the resolutions because they are written as part of the meeting, outcomes of the meeting.
Mr. Masonoki, my concern is the death, the 2 deaths that already took place. Were you aware of that? And you said you are not aware, but now my problem.
I don't remember them.
You don't remember at all. Can I take you?
Which one should one take? Because now you said you are not aware. Now you say you are not aware. You don't remember. Which is which? I do not understand your evidence.
Sometimes I'm using words interchangeably. I apologize.
But if you say you are not aware, that does not necessarily mean that you don't remember. Now you are saying initially you said you are not aware of the deaths. Now you say you don't remember. So I don't know. If you can clarify us on that.
I will say I don't remember because these things happened a long time ago.
So, Mr. Misunoki, am I correct that now you remember selectively?
I don't know where it comes from.
Mr. Shabangu?
Malady?
There is an objection.
Yes, Mr.
Ms. Ramaimela, Malady.
Yes, continue.
I am objecting to the use of you are remembering selectively. That connotes that he does remember. He chooses what to remember. The witness said, these things happened a long time ago. I don't remember. He didn't say he remembers selectively.
Mr. Shabangu?
My lady, I seem to have a problem with this objection because the witness remembers some things that happened on the same meeting, yet he remembered that there was a meeting. He remembers that was chaired by Dr. Libete, but some other things he don't remember. That's why I put that he remembered selectively.
I'm going to allow this question. Let the witness just answer.
Judge, I remember because isn't it the letter was read together with myself, and it says chaired by DDG, the other one chaired by Mosenuche, and then there are resolutions. It helps someone to remember.
Okay, thank you. Proceed. Can we leave this point? Proceed. It's a matter of argument. Let's move to other things.
My lady, as a court pieces, this will be a matter of argument. Mr. Msenoki, I put it to you that had the department acted swiftly when informed by these 2 deaths, more death could have been prevented. If any comment?
I don't have a comment.
Mr. Msonoki, when you compiled this joint resolution as agreed, were you aware that there was no service level agreement signed between the department and this NGO Siabadinga?
That's what was indicated by, I think, by Dr. Manamelas, who wrote that report.
So I will take it that way you are aware, or that was indicated by Dr. Manamel.
Because that was the point of discussion, I think, of that meeting.
So were you aware?
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't hear that, Mr. Msanaki.
Yes, Judge.
Thank you. Proceed.
Now, after being aware, Mr. Musenohi, yet you continue with the resolutions that mental health care users should still be at Siaba under the care of Siabadinga, who did not have a service level agreement. Is that so?
Chair, the meeting was between the operators, the mental health care unit, who were in conflict with the CEO and the two NGOs. They needed to handle those things according to their normal routine regulations and processes. So they should have effected those processes. The resolution was not saying that they must disregard the processes and procedures that they normally operate when they handle these issues.
But that, Mr. Musanok, does not answer my question. My question is, even after you now, I'll rephrase it as the project manager, together with the mental unit, which were together in this meeting. Now you as a project leader, you are aware now it is raised to you that the Siabadinga has no service level agreement. Now, but you forge ahead and say it must continue to have mental health care users and they must share the premises. That's my question.
You remember that the CEO came with the NGO as you read the report. And it was from my taking that the CEO and the director will implement the due processes that are needed to ensure that those NGOs are recognized and service level agreement are written.
But yesterday, Mr. Msonoki, I could ask the question that when this meeting takes place, it was about that the two NGOs must share the premises at Siabading, at Kalinin. Do you remember?
Yes, but the meeting, as I said, it was a meeting that was called to sort out problems and challenges that they had between the two NGOs and the CEO and the director. Myself was called in because now I was the project manager. That problem was a long-lasting problem. It was not a problem because of termination, if you read the report properly.
But in that meeting now, it came out that this NGO has no service level agreement, or this NGO, there were no papers that was being provided by the CEO. Do you remember?
Those are the things that they needed to solve. I still insist.
Now, you as a project leader, once you heard that, what did you do about that?
I left it to the operators to sort out the issues that needed to be sorted out.
Okay, Mr. Musenohi, I will leave that one. Now, and then we are on record that the operators are the mental health care, the mental unit.
Together with the
Mental
CEO.
health care unit.
Mental health care unit, my apology, my lady.
Yes.
Mental health care unit. Mental health care unit.
Yes. and the director and the CEO of the hospital, because they reported directly to the mental health care unit.
And now, in this meeting, it is reported that this NGO, Yabadinga, did not provide the papers, or the CEO did not provide the papers or anything to the mental health care unit. And this is raised between the meeting where is the DDG sitting, the project director is sitting, but nothing is done to make sure that this is attended to. Was that not a forewarning, Mr. Mosenoku, that something's wrong?
That's why the meeting was called, and we asked the responsible people to sort out the issues, the challenges, and the problems.
So you did not want to address
I
that?
could not do anything from my point as a professor. They needed to do something themselves.
So you as a project leader, that didn't worry you. It needed a certain specialities.
It's not about it worrying me, advocate. It's about the responsibilities that people needed to undertake.
And you can't tell this inquest if...
Just a second. Does that mean that the issues that they had didn't concern you because you say you couldn't do anything with regard to the issues? They were supposed to sort them among themselves. Is that what you're saying?
Judge, what I'm saying is that the meeting was, the way I understood the meeting, the way it was called, because it was called by Dr. Libete, and it was called between the operators, the mental health care unit and the CEO, because there were conflicts.
Is it Siyabadinga?
Of Kalinen. The CEO of Kalinen, because there were some conflict between themselves in terms of how they will accommodate the two NGOs. So myself,
at Kalinen.
Yes, at Kalinen. So myself, I came in because the acting HOD, who was the DDG, was leaving the meeting. She was chairing, and he asked me to continue with the meeting. And I proceeded to continue and listen to all issues that were discussed and the challenges and all the conflicts that they were discussing. And out of those discussions, the resolutions were taken. So
in your presence?
Yes, I assume in my presence because I was there. I did not leave the meeting after the DDG came back. I did not leave the meeting. I was there. So basically, the purpose of the meeting was to ensure that the CEO and the mental health care unit get solutions to the issues that they were raising. And the issues of service level agreement, Siyabadinga, it was at first we thought it was Disciples. What were Disciples, which was originally the NGO that was supposed to operate there. Then it turned out that it's now Siyabadinga. So those things needed to be solved by the mental health care unit and the CEOs. The only thing maybe I did not proceed after that to ask whether did they solve the issues, but I took it that they are, because it is their regular work that needed to be done before you can approve any NGO. Maybe my mistake was not to continue to ask whether did they solve those issues.
Okay.
As a court, please, Ismail. Now, Mr. Musonoku, you have raised a lot of issues that came out in that meeting, and still you did not take heed of that. Do you agree with me?
He did not do what?
He did not take heed. He did not follow up on those issues.
All right. I didn't pick that up.
The meeting, After this meeting, there was a lot of follow-ups that were made. I think Dr. Manamela will be able to brief you in terms of those other follow-ups. But it led eventually to disciplinary action being taken against Mrs. Nyato, I think.
Okay, Mr. Musenok, you mentioned disciplinary hearing. We'll come to that. Now, Mr. Musenok, I put it to you that had you as the project leader, together with the DDG, also with Dr. Manamela, or followed up more specifically to the more concerns that were raised, more fatalities could have been prevented to take place at Siabadinga. Do you agree?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Not necessarily meaning?
It doesn't really logically follow up that it will not have led to the death. There should be reasons. There must be reasons, multifactorial reasons why people died. It can't be that only.
Why do you say this? Just a second. If you may assist us.
Judge, after this meeting, there were a lot of other follow-ups that were made, and the work that was done between the team that was working with Dr. Manamela at the district level and at Kalinen. There were a meeting where we ended up having to replace the CEO. Yes, there were disciplinary processes undertaken in which the CEO was replaced by another CEO. And then there were a lot of work done to ensure that the two NGOs are settled in that place in terms of the follow-up that I was advised on. So I think most of the information will be aired when Dr. Manamela give her evidence.
Okay, Mr. Shalom.
My lady. Now, Mr. Musenok, let's touch a bit on the disciplinary hearing. Why was the CEO disciplined? Was sent to the disciplinary hearing?
It was undertaken by Dr. Manamela as a supervisor because of the issues, the problems between themselves in terms of so she recommended that they instituted disciplinary action, and it was implemented.
Do you know if the CEO was found guilty to the disciplinary hearing?
She was suspended, and then there was a disciplinary process. I'm not sure whether the disciplinary process concluded on that matter now.
Do you have any knowledge where is the CEO currently?
The CEO was transferred on suspension to another hospital, and she was replaced by another acting CEO. At the moment, I don't know, but I think Mrs. Nato is either retired or she's still at Vescopis, if I recall, I'm able to recall.
Okay.
But the fact remains that she was removed from Kalinen.
Yes, on suspension, that what we call precautionary suspension, I think.
That was after the meeting that you held on the 20th of.
Not after that meeting. That meeting did not resolve the debt. I think it's other processes that resolved the debt.
But she was suspended after the meeting, not that because of that meeting, but after that meeting.
Yes.
Right. Thank you. Now, Mr. Musinoki, the CEO, Mr. Nyato, will come and testify that she was suspended and removed from Cullinan because she was named as a stumbling block to the placement of the mental health care users at Cullinan. Do you have any comment to that?
I think it's part of the disciplinary processes. I won't be able to add anything to it.
Now, Mr. Musenoki, after this meeting, the first that you checked, now after it was now established that there are problems, and the Siabadinga NGO remained at Cullinan and remained taking care of the mental health care users. Is that correct?
Yes, according to my knowledge.
This is the NGO that the mental health care unit complained about, that it was a CEO NGO. Is that correct?
Yes, in terms of what is written in the report of the director, and also the interactions in the meeting that was held. Yes, that was to my knowledge.
Now, by removing the CEO, why you did not also remove this NGO that did not have necessary papers or service level agreement at Cullinan?
I think that was the work. You remember I said I did not take the responsibilities of the mental health care unit. They had to follow their own processes to handle the issues of NGOs. So as a project leader up there, I could not take the decisions that are supposed to be implemented and the normal functions of the mental health care unit. I think they are the best people to answer in terms of why did they continue with that NGO while they knew that the service level agreement is not there, because they should have made sure that the service level agreement is there.
So are you considering that the mental health care unit did not do the proper job by allowing that NGO to remain at Cullinan and take care of the mental health care?
Yes, they will have to explain, because at that moment I thought they will follow their own procedures.
To date, you still don't know?
Yes, I don't know at the moment.
Do you know what happened to Siabadinga subsequent to when this whole thing was all over the world? When poor mental health care users died, what happened to Siabadinga?
I know, because I've read after the move of patients, there were a lot of problems at Cullinan, yes.
My question is, what happened to Siabadinga then?
Do you know?
I don't know. They went to court.
They went to court.
Yes, that's what I remember, that they
Who went to court? Siabadinga.
Yes, Siabadinga challenging. I think they were challenging their removal from the Cullinan. Yes, that's what I vaguely remember.
Continue.
Mr. Musenoki, do you know that Siabadinga was removed from Cullinan?
That's why they went to court. That's why I'm saying that's why they went to court. I know that they did go to court.
Mr. Musenoki, I'm not asking do you know whether they went to court? I'm asking, do you know whether they were removed from Cullinan?
Just That's
Yes,
what I was explaining, that I know that they went to court because they were being removed from.
But the question is, do you have personal knowledge that they were removed?
Yes, my knowledge is because they went to court.
Okay, so you are trying to explain that. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Can we pass that?
As the court, please, my lady. Mr. Musenohi, I put it to you that Ms. Nyatlu will come and testify that she never ordered that the department's infrastructure be removed in the wards allocated to Anchor NGO at Kalinin. Any comment?
I think that will be a defense. I can't argue against it.
Now, Mr. Msenohi, looking at all the chain of events that we are debating today, will you agree with me that the mental health care users that were transferred either from Kalinin to Sebadinga or from Life Esidimeni to Kalinin, this was done in a rush?
Yes, in terms of the whole issue that has been debated and discussed, the whole program was rush. I agree.
And you also agree with me that because of this rush, the mental health care users had to suffer the consequences that some of them, they lose their life. Is that correct?
Yes, in addition with other factors.
Okay, Mr. Msenohi. Now, as the court is my lead, I'm just going through my notes. I'm about to finish. Mr. Msenohi, you considered, or we have you on evidence, that time was of essence, and you were under the pressure of time for you to complete this project. As a result, some other things were not attended to. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
As a court, please, just going through. Mr. Msenohi, I put it to you that Ms. Nyatu will come and testify that at all the times she was under the employment of the Department of Health. Do you agree with me? Any comment? Sorry, my lady. Any comment?
No comment.
I further put it to you that Ms. Nyatu will come and testify that during her tenure as the CEO and during the time of the marathon project, she never received any unduly benefit or any beneficiary from any NGO. Any comment?
No comment.
Lastly, Mr. Musenohi, you testified also that it was agreed during the court application that was brought by SADC that the mental health care users will not receive a less treatment as they did receive at Life Esidimeni. Do you remember that?
I don't remember. What did I say?
It was, I'll refer you to the page, Mr. Sonoki, just, I'm about to finish. That will be on page.
You can just clarify it and then hear what he says, then you can refer him to the page. He wants clarification. He didn't hear the question properly.
Yes.
As the court places, my lady, that the settlement agreement that was entered between the court application that was brought by SADC, it was one of the agreement that the mental health care users that were transferred from Life Esidimeni, the department will not place them under a lesser conditions that they were receiving at Life Esidimeni. Am I clear?
Yes, you are clear, but can I comment, Judge?
Yes, yes.
Yes, because the NGOs are not in the similar, they could not provide similar standard of care that is provided at an institution like Life Esidimeni. So it will not be equivalent, but it should be of necessary quality, not to danger the lives of the mental care users.
Okay, proceed.
As the court places, my lady, I'm about to finish, my lady. I just want to take the witness to page 1060.
Yes.
Mr. Sonoki, we are on the
Yes.
page. This is part of your statement.
Yes.
On that page, the heading is meetings with family members. Do you agree?
Yes.
Just wait for me, Mr.
As a court, please, my lady.
Yes, I'm on page 1060.
As a court, please, my lady. Then we'll go to
Which paragraph?
paragraph 25.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, you may continue.
Mr. Msenoki, can you familiarize yourself with paragraph 25? Did you read it?
Yes, let me read it. Do I read everything or just a part?
No, read paragraph 25 as a whole, and then you will read paragraph 25.1.2. As a court, please, my lady.
You can first go to page 1054 just to check what this document is before you read the paragraph.
Okay, Judge. Yeah, okay. Okay. Yes.
Did you read paragraph 25, Mr. Msenoki?
Yes, I'm now in 25.1.
Yeah, we read 25.1.2.
Yes. Okay, I've read it.
Can I read 25.1.2 for the purpose of record?
Yes.
With the course permission, my lady, can I read 25.1.2?
Yes, continue. Yes, continue.
The department will ensure that the mental ill patient will not receive lesser care than what they are currently receiving at Life Esidimeni. Do you see that, Mr. Msenoki?
Yes.
Now, in conclusion to my cross-examination, can you today say that the mental health care users did receive more than what they were receiving at Life Esidimeni?
As I tried to explain, Your Honor Judge, that the NGOs are more limited than a big institutions in terms of services. So what I take as less care, it determines in terms of what kind of services they are going to get, because NGO is limited to a single owner, and normally it's only care workers, and the senior nurse is normally on a part-time basis. He comes in to assist, and they also they needed to be in contact with the clinics to be able to know when the patient needs attention. They are able to contact the clinic and provision of care. So it will not be a
From my
similar.
side,
It will not be a similar care, but it will be a care that befits the NGO, but it will be qualitative as such.
come again?
It should be qualitative as such, in terms of the expected level of the NGOs. That's why it was important that NGOs have service level agreement, because then the standards should fit what they are supposed to do.
Okay.
Maybe I must rephrase the question, Mr. Msenoki. Did the department ensure that the mental ill patient did not receive lesser care than they were currently receiving at Life Esidimeni?
Yes, but as we found out later that there was some NGOs which were not of the standard that was expected to take care of patients. That's why we are here today.
And who was responsible of making sure that these NGOs make sure that the mental health care users?
The Department of Health as a whole, mental health care unit, and myself as a project leader.
As the court pleases, my lady, that will conclude my cross-examination to Mr. Msenoki.
Thank you very much. Mr. Brophy.
May it please the court. My lady, may I just take direction in respect of Mr. Manamela joining, if that impacts the order of seniority?
Oh, has he joined, Mr. Manamela? Is it Mr. Manamela?
Lady, he did indicate during roll call that he's having connectivity issues. Perhaps that is persisting. With the court's leave, may I then proceed?
Just proceed. Did he say here he has got problems with connectivity?
Yes, my lady.
Irene, just find out as to what is happening with to Mr. Manamela.
Okay.
Whether he would like to Continue with cross-examination by the time he has joined us. Proceed in the meantime, Mr. Prof.
And then, my lady, may I just please ask if it's possible for the witness's frame to just go a little down so that I'm not speaking to only his head, or if he may sit up just so that we can see one another.
Yes,
Yes, Judge.
yes, just check your position because I was also struggling. Sometimes you sit on the side.
Okay.
Yeah, that is
I
much better.
apologize, Judge.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Good morning, Mr. Musinegi. I am Advocate Profi, representing Mrs. Mbasha, who represents Obushlebi Inkosi, one of the NGOs. So I'm not going to repeat my colleague's evidence nor your evidence with the back and forth reference to pages. I'm merely just going to conclude your testimony in respect of Obushlebi Inkosi specifically. So I don't.
Just a second. Your client's name again? Ubuhle-Benkosi, who is representing that?
Miss Mbasha.
Mbasha, yes. Okay. Continue.
I then just want to begin with a few aspects and request your comment just so that I understand that my thinking and line of questioning is then correct. When asked how you coped, you said it was by the grace of God because you, as well as your team, was under quite a bit of pressure. That's correct.
Yes.
You were repeatedly asked by my colleagues which NGOs you visited, and you never mentioned Obushlebi Inkosi. My assumption on that is it's not a mistake on your part, it's because you never did visit Obushlebi Inkosi as an NGO.
Yes, I don't remember it. I remember the name, but I don't remember visiting it, unless if somebody can remind me.
No, Ms. Mbasha will tell this court that she has never met you, she didn't know you were the project manager, so there was no interaction between the two of you, nor did you ever visit her NGO. So we have no dispute in respect of you visiting the NGO.
Okay.
Now, what I need clarity on, especially in respect of your previous testimony from this morning's section, is I just want to understand the distinction between you as the project manager and the mental health unit. Dr. Manamela visited, so is your evidence then that you gave the visiting of NGOs over to, that responsibility over to Dr. Manamela? The reason for that is that's why Dr. Manamela is the one that visited the NGO.
As I said in my evidence, that the work of management of NGO is normally the job that is done by mental health care unit directorate under the leadership of Dr. Manamela. There's a provincial office, and also in each district there's an office of mental health care. They work in partnership with the NGOs in their particular districts. So Dr. Manamela, in a routine basis, even outside the project, they do normally visit NGOs.
So the aspect that I need clarity on is then when you say they make their own decisions and they're on their own, if they have problems, can they come to you as project manager, or is it the unit's exclusive responsibility to deal with the NGOs and they cannot bring any issues to you?
The aspect of, isn't it, there were sub-teams in terms of the project. So I did not take the responsibility of the sub-team mental health care unit because they are regularly doing the work. So I depended entirely on the team to indicate if there are problems that are specific to the project, then they will be able to indicate to me. But most of the work they were doing on a routine basis. So I don't think, unless if there was a problem that they could not handle, maybe they could have discussed at our meeting or with Dr. Manamela as their relevant supervisor.
So the line of communication was open between you and Dr. Manamela for issues to be brought to you.
Yes, that has to deal with the project itself, but otherwise she will carry out her duties as a head of mental health care unit.
The reason why I ask, because I just need your comment in respect of specifically to Untitled Chapter. Ms. Mbasha told Dr. Manamela on these routine visits of her problems being she's not linked to a pharmacy, which naturally would impact the medication supplied to the users. She's not receiving, apologies, she's not receiving the grant in terms of the service level agreement, which impacts her ability to care for the users. And she's having no support from the department. So in my understanding, those are quite serious issues in terms of the care of the users. Was she then obligated to then disclose those issues or report those issues to you as the project manager?
No, I think she has the capacity to have solutions to those issues herself as the head of the program.
So it was on her to then solve those issues?
Yes, I don't think she would have brought them to me.
Okay. Thank you. Then the last aspect pertains to, I would summarize your cross-examination this week as my colleagues put various scenarios to you on what should have happened, what should have been signed, what ought to have been done, what ought to have not been done. So I summarized it in the proverbial should have, could have, didn't. That's what predominantly happened this week. You agree with that, correct?
Yes, with that approach.
Yeah.
Yes.
So by virtue of us sitting here today, I can then conclude that in respect of the planning and logistics of you and your team, it was a failure for a number of reasons that you have given.
It turned out to be a failure, I will say, in most cases. Not in all cases, yeah.
So in determining the fundamental reason for that failure is cumulatively the department's failure stemmed from the time constraint. You had pressed yesterday and as well as this morning, you confirmed that time constraints was a factor in affecting the planning and logistics. And due to those time constraints, you didn't have time to take stock.
Yes.
Which then gets to the failure that we both just agreed to. Now, the consequence of that failure is then just like the mental health care users, that failure was then transferred to the NGOs. Would you agree with me?
Yes, because I think we shortchanged them in terms of making sure that they are supervised properly and their challenges are attended to on time.
So I'm going to elaborate on this. You shortchanged the NGOs. The approach was, ready or not, here they come. Whether your NGO has the facilities or not, whether agreements have been made, we agree the NGOs were shortchanged by the department in your approach of, here they are, take them.
Yes, especially the new ones, because you remember I raised the issue that people will need to be trained to take care of patients and to ensure that they know what they should be doing. I think that element was missing.
So I will then argue before this court that cumulatively the failures by the department towards the NGOs, particularly Untitled Chapter, that shortchanging of the NGO set her up for failure, and then the court cannot find that she's liable for any of the deaths. They were merely the final link to the chain of disaster.
Depending if there were no other factors specific to that particular NGO.
Can you tell the court what these specific factors could possibly be?
Their individual responsibilities when they were caring for patients. I think they also had some individual responsibilities, whether they carried them out properly. So I won't be knowing. I think it's for the court to find out those issues, those specific issues.
But if we consider these individual responsibilities in light of Ms. Mbasha not receiving the payments she's supposed to, not being linked to a pharmacy, can't get medication, her requests from the department not being adhered to, being told by the mental health unit that, sorry, there's nothing we can do, they're coming, just get ready for them. Can we consider their individual responsibility in light of that background?
Yes, I think all the factors will have to be considered for a final decision by the court.
So would you agree with me or not that the SOR changing doesn't make them liable for the deaths?
I won't be able to make that decision myself.
Thank you very much. My lady, that concludes my cross-examination. I have no further questions for the witness.
Thank you. I see it's now, is it 10 past or 8 minutes past 11? If I may check with Mr. Manamela before we take our tea break. Mr. Manamela?
Your
How are you
Ladyship,
this morning?
I'm all right, and yourself, Your Ladyship.
I'm okay. I just want to find out, do you have questions in cross-examination of this witness?
Our
So that
instructions are that we will not be cross-examining this witness, Your Ladyship. Thank you.
You do not have any questions?
We do not have any questions, Your Ladyship.
Okay. Just to find out who's going to be next after these two, so that when we resume after the tea break, we should know who's going to proceed. If you may assist. Thank you, Mr. Manamela.
Thank you, Your Ladyship.
Mr. Sibara, are you there? Mr. Sibara?
As the court, please, my lady, Mr. Makani is here. Understand that Mr. Sibara is already cross-examined the witness.
He has, but normally he's the one who keeps a record of everything. I just heard him the other day. He assisted as to who comes after who, because I don't have that list. I should be having the list. But you people, you know how you follow each other in terms of seniority.
My lady, if I may be of some assistance, I presume that I am usually last. So after me, it would be any of...
Are you usually last?
I'm usually last. So it's the in-person litigants who then, if they have any questions, they go after me.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. So it means those who are remaining will be those who are not the parties that are not represented. That will be Ms. Ethel Ngube, Daine Noile, Ms. Karina Morale, and Dr. Sikukuni. Are they there? Yes,
Yes, Karina, I'm there.
Yes, okay. Your cross-examination will therefore be reserved. Are there any indications as to how far you are with your applications?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
Yes.
So for now, I'm going to excuse this witness. Mr. Late, where are you?
My lady, should at Ramayela.
Yes, I nearly forgot. Now it's your turn to do the so-called cross-examination, re-examination. Okay. I think it's 12 minutes past 11. We can start after the tea adjournment. If we start at, I think at 11:30. Thank you very much. The witness is warned. Thanks for reminding me, Mr. Late.
May it please the court, my lady.
Thank you. We have now reconvened. Where is the witness? You are on mute. You are muted.
My lady,
Yes.
the witness had just stepped out. Miss Matlape is quickly giving him a call to come back.
Okay.
Thank you, my lady.
Thank you.
My lady, I apologize. When we deliberate with Miss Matlape, we always ask the witness to step out. So we had asked him to come back at 25 first. He probably lost track of time. Thank you, my lady. He's back now.
Apologies, Judge. My apologies, Judge.
Oh, you didn't forget your jacket, at least.
Yes.
Yes, you are reminded that you're still under oath. But I don't understand. What is happening with your camera?
My lady, perhaps we should just wipe the lens. It will be better. Let's just find out.
Yes, sir.
You must just sit in the middle.
Am I fine, Judge?
Okay, come this side.
Okay.
Yes, but you have to sit properly because, yeah.
Okay.
It's not, it's much better now, but I don't know. Let's proceed.
Okay.
As the court pleases, my lady. Mr. Mosenuchi, I'm going to take you through a few questions that my colleagues have been asking you about, and also quite a few that I myself have, okay?
Yes, advocate.
Now, just to get you started, let's start with a few things that have already been discussed and agreed on, and therefore we call them to be common cause. You will remember that the decision to terminate was taken on September 2015.
Yes.
You testified that you were directed by the MEC to get involved in the project on 5 November 2015 at a quarterly review meeting.
Yes, the quarterly review session, yes.
And then after the MEC directed you, you went to discuss with Mr. Silibano, who was the HOD.
Yes, the Dr. Silibano.
Dr. Silibano, I beg your pardon.
Yes.
Yes.
And that discussion was just to obtain background and understand your role, or the role that you had to play in the project. You remember that?
Yes.
And then after all these discussions, you were appointed by Dr. Silibano, and the letter you signed on the 10th of December, 2015.
Yes, 10th of December.
Now, although the MEC directed you to get involved on the 5th of November, it was only Dr. Silibano who appointed you. Is that correct?
Yes, because he's the responsible person in terms of administration to appoint any person in the department.
So when you say he is the responsible person in terms of administration, can you just briefly explain to the court what would his powers be?
Yes, the political office we normally call in terms of public service administration is the executing authority. That will be the MEC. And the HOD normally is called accounting officer in terms of PFMA. Is responsible, is the head of administration. So all administrative issues are handled by him.
Now, if administrative issues are handled by Dr. Silibano, what issues would the MEC handle?
The MEC is the political head. He executes and oversees the department as the political head. And normally, after elections, the governing party will implement its manifesto. It will turn what was the manifesto into key performance areas for particular departments. So we will be able to deliver services according to that.
Mr. Mosenoku, during your evidence, you mentioned quite a lot something you referred to as a policy decision. You remember?
Yes.
Now, a policy decision between the administrative head and the political head or the executing head, who would be responsible to take that decision?
Eventually, it will be the political head as an overall overseer of policy for the ruling party. But the administrative head has to implement it, and it can only implement by using all other officials under him.
So,
yes, continue.
Thank you, my lady. Now, when you speak of this political decision and the MEC being the ultimate decision maker, this decision to terminate the contract of Life Esidimeni is a decision whose ultimate decision maker would be the MEC.
Eventually, it rests on the political head. That is the MEC.
Thank you. Now, just a quick recap before I proceed. You just said now this policy decision is implemented by the administrative authority through officials of the department.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
And in this case, no, I'm not done. I'm waiting for the judge to finish.
No, just continue.
As the court pleases, my lady. Now, in this case, the administrative authority is Dr. Silibano, and he implements the decision of the political head, being the MEC, through yourself as an official and members of the project team as officials of the department. Am I correct?
Yes. That's why the team consisted of senior managers. If you go through that team, you'll see most of them are senior managers. Either they are directors or chief directors.
Yes, continue.
As the court pleases, my lady. Now, during the course of cross-examination by my colleagues, you were referred to an email that you wrote in February 2016. You remember that?
Yes, I remember that,
Now,
advocate.
if we can just go there so that the questions can be, I can ask them, referring them with particular reference to what you wrote. My lady, the email is found at page 30207. I apologize, my lady. If we can go back to 30205. That is where the email begins.
Yes, I'm there.
Now, this email is addressed to Mahlangu Qedani, Selebano Bani, Richard Libete. We now know that Mahlangu Qedani was the MEC, Selebano Bani was the HOD, Richard Libete was the DDG Clinical Services. There's a further name there, Nkuna Kanyisa. Who is that?
Nkuna was the PA of the then MEC, personal assistant to the MEC at that particular time.
Now, why did you deem it fit to copy the MEC's personal assistant when you have already addressed and included the email of the MEC here?
I think any communication to the MEC, official communication, also has to go through her or his office. So in terms of protocol, I think that was right.
Thank you. If we can scroll to page 30206, just at the bottom. Do you see, my lady, if you can just bear with me, I'm trying to find the paragraph that I want to refer the witness to. Activity. I apologize, my lady. I'm just trying to find where I have. Yes, Miss Matlape has just pointed me. Yes. Mr. Mosenuhi, you see at 20206, there's the first paragraph, the second one, and then there are bullet points. You see that?
Yes, advocate.
There's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bullet points, and then goes ultimately the impact of the policy decision, if effected in the current form, will ultimately result in the following. You see that?
Yes.
And then after that, before I take you to the question, at page 30207, the 1, 2, 3, the third paragraph. Is the court there, my lady?
Yes, I'm on the page.
My lady, I must apologize. Mr. Musenoku is using my other device that I use for case line. So I'm using both case line and MS Team on one device. It's a bit of a struggle for me. I apologize for that. It reads, we therefore, as senior managers, tasked to implement the policy decision, proposes an alternative implementation approach as follows. Do you see that?
Yes, I see, Advocate.
Now, if we take a step or two back, you have already testified that the policy decision, the ultimate decision maker is the MEC, correct?
Yes.
And that policy decision is implemented by the HOD, being the administrative head, through officials of the department who are senior managers. You remember?
Yes.
Now, what I was referring you to in this email is exactly what you have just testified, that the MEC is the policy decision maker, and you as senior managers are the implementers of that decision. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, if we can just unpack this sentence where we say, we therefore as senior managers. When you said we, who are you referring to?
I think I did enumerate that as senior managers, the people that I mentioned in the email, but also us, ourselves as the project managers, the project team.
Now, if you listen very carefully to my question, Mr. Musino.
I think you are breaking. I don't know why.
I apologize, Malady. Can the court hear me?
Yes, but as you speak, sometimes you go down. I don't know.
I will try and remain and retain a consistent voice, Malady. Mr. Musenoki, here it says, we therefore as senior managers. So we are agreed that the people that you're talking about in this sentence are senior managers. And you use plural as the writer of this letter. Now I want to understand the persons, the names of the persons that you are referring to as we, the senior managers. Who are they?
I'm using that senior managers that also involved the HOD, Dr. Silvano, the DDGs, including Dr. Richard Libete. As I've already discussed, I confirmed that I did discuss with them. And also the project team.
Thank you. Now, would I be correct that these people that you just described now, yourself, the HOD, the DDG, the members of the project team, you are writing, you as Mr. Musino, on behalf of a collective to appeal to the decision maker, a policy decision maker, in this case being the MEC.
Yes, it was after a lot of discussions, either individual or as a group, but I was collating all the concerns that we have raised and the suggestions that we are making.
Thank you. Now, to continue on your answer, when you say you were writing this email after discussions with the persons on whose behalf you were writing, would I be correct to think that you discussed all the concerns and the issues that are raised in this email? You discussed them with Mr. Silibano, Dr. Silibano. You discussed them with DDG Clinical Service being Dr. Libete, and in your discussions with the project team, who you refer to as senior managers, then a collective letter written by yourself is now addressed to the MEC to bring to her attention the concerns that all these people have. Would I be correct?
Yes, I would like to point out, Judge, that the letter is as a result of various consultative kind of, either on individual level or meetings, or when we went out to the visit looking at the concerns. And so it was a collective of all the issues that were discussed, or ideas that were shared either on an individual basis or on a collective basis. It was not one sitting kind of letter that came out of one meeting.
Yes.
So effectively what your answer means that it means, well, my understanding of it, please correct me if I'm wrong. When you are busy interacting with all these various people and or stakeholders, they raise concerns with you. And these concerns are the ones that you forwarded to the MEC to bring them to her attention.
Yes, the concerns of interactions. You remember I had family meetings, I had attended various hospitals with their CEOs. I have discussed with the HOD, with the DDGs, and also with the project teams in our meetings. So it's a collective kind of arrangement.
Now,
I think that has been explained. If we can move.
Yes, we are moving on, my lady. If we can go back to 20205. 30205. You start by saying, Honorable MEC Q Masangu. MEC, my apologies for writing you directly. Why were you apologizing for writing to the MEC directly?
Because at that time she was at home. That's what I knew. She was at home at that time. She was not at office. And I was apologizing because I was made to believe that she was from the hospital, so she was resting at home.
Now, we were told that, I think it was the evidence of Dr. Libete, that the protocol of communication in the department, he reports to Dr. Silibano if he's got consent, and Dr. Silibano reports to the MEC. Did that protocol not apply to you?
Normally, I don't write to the MEC, but those times it was a difficult decision for me to write directly to the MEC and appeal to her as a person and raise these issues, because you remember I said I wrote the email. I could not sleep at that time when I wrote the email. So it was a decision that I took to put all these things together myself as the project manager and write straight to her. That's why the apology also.
If there was no pressure, who would you ordinarily write to get your message through to the MEC?
The HOD, there was no need to write to, because I will communicate with him anytime.
Yes.
Yes.
Continue.
Yes, my lady. Now at page, I think it's 30205, the same page. There are those 7 bullet points. I think my learned colleague, Ms. Rajab Batlender, took you through them. There is a portion I'm looking for where the clinicians have indicated. Let me quickly find it. It's that paragraph that is unnumbered, immediately under paragraph 7. You see that?
Under paragraph 7.
Yes, under point 7 on that same page. There's a paragraph that's unnumbered.
The paragraphs that are not numbered.
It starts from the meeting's in-depth discussion. You've got that.
I'm still looking. I'm looking for it.
Immediately after paragraph 7.
Okay.
From the meeting.
Yes, I can see it, Judge.
You can see that, right?
Yeah.
You said from the meeting's in-depth discussions and my personal assessment as the program manager, Honorable MEC, I propose that the department seriously consider an extension of the contract to about 6 months at minimum to a year maximally. This will assist us to do better in regards to beefing up our facilities to cater for such vulnerable patients, and also ensure that the NGOs are trained and also adjust to having a variety of specialized patients and also well prepared for such venture. The clinicians have indicated that this will be of much value, especially considering the challenges faced by such patients. If we can pause here, the clinicians that you are referring to here, who were they?
The same clinicians that wrote the memo, and the ones, some of them I roped them into the project team. Basically, it will involve the heads of psychiatrics in various mental health institutions, both Dr. Madigwe, both Professor Musa, both Dr. Park, and both Dr. Sukudela, yes.
Yes. Now, if we can just go to the cross-examination that my learned senior, Mr. Van Bergen, took you through. You remember he referred you to a minute of November 2015.
Yes.
Where he referred you to a column where Professor Musa highlighted concerns. You remember that?
Yes.
And this meeting was chaired by yourself. You remember that?
Yes.
And if I am correct, please correct me if I'm wrong, that meeting you were introduced as the new project leader. Is that correct?
Newly appointed project leader,
Newly
yes.
appointed project
yes.
leader. Can I proceed, my lady?
No, continue.
As the court pleases. Now, at this meeting where you are introduced as the new lead project leader, Professor Musa raises concerns. Are these the concerns that you are referring to when you say the clinicians have indicated that this will be of much value, meaning giving the extension of 6 months to 12 months?
Yes, I was taking cognizance of those from that meeting, but also from the memo and also from my interaction with individual clinicians.
So, this interaction with the clinicians, you would have only had it after either your directive that was issued by the MEC on the 5th. Yeah, because the meeting is occurring in November 2015. Is that correct?
Yes, but I had also had interaction with them prior to that, because I did get a memo that was directed to the MEC. I think my interaction, because as a senior manager in the department, you also interact with individuals. It doesn't mean that we don't interact, even if we are driving different programs, especially myself, because I was the head of planning. I will interact with all programs.
Yes. Now, you remember your evidence was that Dr. Manamela gave you their memorandum.
I don't remember, but I did have the memo.
Yes.
I don't
Now-
remember whether it was Dr. Manamela or any other, but I had the memo.
Yes. And your evidence when Mr. Van Bergen cross-examined you was that in April when they had the discussion, you were not involved in the project. You remember that?
Yes, April 2015. Yes, I was not involved. Yes.
Yes. So now I'm saying, because now you are directed to be the project leader on the 5th, you are having interactions and meetings. As a result of these interactions and meetings, you now take the concerns raised and you take them to the policy decision maker, being the MEC. Is that correct?
Yes, that's not the only thing I did, but I also.
No, but I'm asking you.
Yes.
That is what you did.
Yes, that's what I did.
Thank
yes.
you very much, Mr. Musini.
Yes, maybe you should direct your witness, because he must remember that he has already given evidence.
Yes.
Okay.
So he need not give a lot of details now. We have given him ample opportunity to explain whatever he explained when he was first led by the evidence leader. And even in cross-examination, we left him, but I kept on stressing that he should answer the questions
Okay.
as they are posed. Yeah, listen to the question, don't give too much detail. The details are already on record.
Okay, Judge. Thank you very much.
Now, if we go back to this paragraph that we were reading where we stopped on the clinicians, and we continue reading, that would be line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It says, also the LE people request that we indicate to them clearly our plans, as they need to issue notices to staff before the end of February 2016 to begin to wrap and close the facilities. And I have asked the HOD, what do we say to them? At least by Monday. Do you see that?
Yes.
Now, when my learned colleague, Mr. Van Bergen, SC, cross-examined you, he asked you whether you had interacted with Dr. Mkhatshwa. You remember that?
Yes.
And he also asked you whether Dr. Mkhatshwa had brought any concerns to your attention as the project leader. You remember that?
Yes.
Now, would I be correct that as part and parcel of this email or letter that you are addressing to the MEC, you are also bringing to her attention again the concerns of Life Esidimeni?
Yes.
And then just to finalize, for me, I think we should have time to avoid possible mess if our plans don't materialize. Plus, the staff needs consideration. So when you wrote this email, you were very alive to the fact that the time that remained was very insufficient. Is that correct?
Yes, that was right.
Now, if we can just digress a little bit to cover the LM1 that Mr. Van Bergen took you to. If I can just check it on my note, my lady. It is at page 1064. Are you there?
Yes, I'm the advocate.
Now, if you look at paragraph 2, it says, at the MHCU users family meeting, the department through the MEC and HOD assured families that no one will be losing their jobs, as all qualified employees will be accommodated within the department structures. Despite the various meetings and requests expressed by Life Esidimeni, the department has not clearly communicated with Life Esidimeni on the following critical issues arising from the termination of the contract. Number A, the staff complement that the department commits to employing on 1 April 2016. The category, number of employees, and proposed institution, I beg your pardon, of placement. The processes and timelines on how this will be achieved, and the responsible officials. It is imperative that Life Esidimeni commence and finalize the staff consultations for over 600 employees as soon as possible. As the impending contract termination date can no longer be ignored, a significant number of Life Esidimeni employees are looking for alternative employment due to lack of clarity and certainty on the way forward. Now, Mr. Msenu, if we go back to your email, which was at page 30205. Oh, I lost my page. Yes, I found it. Also, the LE people request that we indicate to them clearly our plans. Now, the letter that was written by Dr. Mkachwa was written on the 15th of February. You remember that was put to you?
Yes.
The email that you wrote to the MEC was written on the 12th of February.
Yes.
So that is 3 days before the Life Esidimeni letter is addressed to the HOD, the DDG, you and Ms. Dr. Maname. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what it effectively means is that what Life Esidimeni is writing to you, they had been discussing with you and you brought it to the attention of the MEC. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, when we move further, the next paragraph says, I have attached an alternative proposal as discussed with my principals, and in principle agreed that it might be something that we might have to look at as department, procuring 1 or 2 facilities as a backup to the NGO-based model for sustainability purposes. Today's presentation is attached. These principles that you're referring to, for fear of repetition, who are they?
The principals.
Yes, the principals, I beg your pardon.
Dr. Silebano and the DDG Clinical Services.
And then you attached this alternative plan, which follows at the next page, at 200, I beg your pardon, 30206. Is that the proposal that you attached now?
Yes.
Now, your evidence was that after the MEC received, or after you had sent, rather let me put it that way, this communication to the MEC, you learned through family meetings that the MEC granted an extension of 3 months. You recall that?
Yes, I was at a family meeting when the family members got excited and told me that actually we've got the extension.
Now, did the MEC ever write back to you in response to this email to tell you what extension she's giving you?
He wrote an answer, I think, immediately after reading the email, but that answer I could not retrieve from the computer when I wanted to look at it again. I couldn't repeat until now. but I think it was an acknowledgement of the email, and I think she was considering it.
Okay.
Yes.
But the answer for the extension you got from the family members?
The confirmation, they got it from the media.
From the media.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if we can just go to this plan.
But it was confirmed, sorry, Judge, but it was confirmed when we had a meeting with the MEC that the extension has been given.
Now, bullet point 4, just to place it on record, you were bringing to the attention of the MEC that most NGOs are not sustainable as an alternative to LE partnership. Do you see that?
Yes.
And also, what you brought to the attention of the MEC through this alternative plan was that our infrastructure renovation program, still at commencement phase, may not be fully complete by middle of March. You see that?
Yes.
Yes.
As the court pleases, my lady. If I can just find my next point, my lady, I apologize. I'm going through my notes. You remember when? Wait, no, let me read.
Are we now at back at to page 30205 6 or 5?
We were still, my lady, at page
1065.
30206. I'm trying to move on from there.
Are we done with 1065?
1065, my lady.
Yes, we were at, was it 1064? You read, where you read paragraph 2?
Well, my lady, we were at paragraph, at page 30206.
Yes, but there was, I just wanted to check if you are done with page 1064.
1064. If I can just quickly.
That is LM1.
Oh, yes, my lady.
Okay.
We are where, well, we may have to return to it later, but for now, we are done with the point.
That's fine. You may proceed then.
As the court pleases, my lady. Now, just to, if I can just recall my trail of thought, my lady, I apologize.
You were talking about the bullet points on page 1, the 30.
Yes, that
06.
He had brought them to the attention of the MEC. Then you remember you were asked why you didn't ask for a further extension after you were given the 3 months extension.
Yes, I remember.
And it was put to you that had you asked, the MEC would have applied her mind. You remember that?
Yes.
Now, what I'd like to know is that, considering all the information that you had placed before her, which is all these discussions you had with your principals and the senior managers, was there anything further that you could have brought before her attention to seek a further extension?
Just that's why I said when I answered that I didn't find it. I didn't know what more to say. That's why I did not ask for further extensions after the 3 months. I did not attempt to do that. It never came to my mind to repeat the same issues that I have raised.
Now, during cross-examination by my learned senior, Ms. Rajab Batlender, SC, she asked, or she put a statement along the following lines, that it was a national tragedy that over 100 people died under the state care. You remember that?
Yes.
And your answer was along the following lines, that If I can just look for my note I made. Yes, but maybe there were issues that led to that. Issues of notice of people of life Esidimeni. Nurses were resigning. People receiving people who were no longer receiving the care they received. Now, which notice of life Esidimeni were you referring to?
I was referring to the notice of termination. You remember that it was a 6 month notice of termination.
Yes.
With our intervention, it became 9 months.
Oh.
And in that process, because it was something continuing, my opinion or my view was that I found that people are also resigning. Healthcare workers are resigning from life Esidimeni because they were not certain about their future. So it might have contributed also to less quality care at life Esidimeni. That was just my opinion in terms of that. It's many factors that can be attached to that resulted in the death of people.
Can you just make a note? Now, if we can go, I beg your pardon, my lady, to take you back to that page you asked me, 1064. You remember we had read paragraph 2 and A, and we ended just at the bottom of A before it carries over to the next page.
Yes.
If I can just read where we had ended, we ended up at a significant number of life Esidimeni employees are looking for alternative employment due to a lack of certainty and clarity on the way forward. On the 1st of March 2016, life Esidimeni is required by the Labor Relations Act to send letters of notice of retrenchment to all employees. Poor clarity on the matter poses a risk of key staff leaving their employment with life Esidimeni before the 31st March 2016, resulting in a loss of trained specialist human resources. This may have a negative impact on the quality of care provided to MHC users at the relevant facilities in the period between the current date and the termination of the contract on 31 March 2016. Now, what you have just testified to about the quality of care being affected, is this also, or according to you, was this also the view of the writer of this letter?
Yes, it seems he also was of that view.
Continue.
This is my lady, if I can just check my note. Now, during the cross-examination by my learned colleague, Advocate Forster, you were referred to litigation that the department had with Sadak and others. You remember that?
Yes, I remember, Advocate.
She asked you who gave instructions to oppose the application, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Now, your answer was along the following lines. You wouldn't know, it must be the department because it was a departmental litigation. You recall that?
Yes.
Now, what I want to know is that, does the department have a legal division?
Yes, there's a legal unit in the department.
And under which directorate, if I can use that. I'm not quite sure what they are called. Does that fall?
It's a legal directorate, legal management directorate.
It has a chief director.
Yes, it has a chief director.
And the chief director reports to which DDG?
The chief director normally is reporting to the HOD of legal services.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, if there's litigation against the department, we all know that the papers would go to the state attorney and to the department. Who or which division at the department would those papers go to?
It will go to the HOD. Then he will refer it to the relevant programs and also to the legal department.
And when there is a decision to participate in that litigation, do you know who is the ultimate decision maker for that participation of the department in the litigation?
The HOD will have to implement. I think it's basically it will be either the MEC or the HOD, but one of them will, with concurrence of another.
Yes, continue.
As the court pleases, my lady. I'm just going through my notes. I apologize. Now, my learned colleague, Advocate Pinar SC, asked you about evaluation and monitoring. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember.
And when he asked you whether you had to evaluate information obtained to ensure that termination proceed properly, you said you worked with the team because you were not an expert. You recall that?
Yes, I recall that.
And at various points in your evidence, you pointed out that you were not a typical manager vested with decision-making powers, personnel, staff, budget, and other resources. You remember that?
As a project manager, yes.
Now, what I want to know is that if you had conducted an evaluation or you read a document that was presented to you from the Mental Health Directorate, say, for example, regarding profiling, would you have been in a position to identify any errors, if there were errors in that document?
Not on myself, not by myself. Maybe as a team, if we had that latitude.
Now, Mr. Msini, what I'm asking is that the Mental Health Directorate does their job. They compile a report or document pertaining to profiling. They come and present it to you because you are monitoring the implementation of the project. If there's any errors in that document, would you be able to pick them up?
Technically, I will not be able when it has to do with profiling.
You also testified during cross-examination that for the success of the project, there should have been due diligence. You remember that?
Yes.
Now, who was supposed to conduct that due diligence?
As I've said from my experience, due diligence is done before the project is undertaken. So it should have been maybe the specialist. We should have got specialists in mental health to do due diligence to advise us how do we approach this termination.
So do I understand you correct that before the decision to terminate on 29 September 2015, whoever is taking the decision to terminate should have preceded that decision with a due diligence study?
A proper due diligence, yes, in terms of mental health, in terms of the project that needed to be undertaken.
Lady, just a moment. I'm just trying to check my next point. Now, Mr. Mosenogi, you have been saying the department should have when you are asked questions. And many other colleagues say the department failed to heed the concerns. Perhaps let me make it much simpler. Mr. Van Bergen said, despite the concerns raised by Life Esidimeni, despite the concerns raised by the clinicians who are within the department failed to heed the concerns. You remember that?
Yes, I remember.
Now we have just heard throughout your evidence, which you've repeated now, that through your letter of February 2016, you, the HOD, the DDG, the senior managers took all these concerns and put them before the MEC. You recall that?
Yes.
Now, in this instance, where all of you are putting these concerns before the MEC, when we say the department should have heeded the concerns, who would we be referring to?
The MEC.
Now, if the MEC is the only one left as being a representative of the department, and these concerns are brought to her attention, and despite the request of an extension of 6 to 12 months, she only grants 3 months. Let me find a better way to phrase this, my lady. Is there anything that you and the persons that I have just spoken about now have done anything to remedy the situation or the concerns that you brought to her attention?
No, we could have just, no, we couldn't have done much except to try to work hard on the time given.
Now, you remember you were also asked about the involvement of district managers.
Yes.
If we can turn to page 31813.
Three
31813, my lady. This is, if I can just find the beginning of the minute, is a minute. It starts at 31811, my lady. It's that minute of 23 November 2015, where Professor Musa had raised the concerns. Now at page 31813, the column says district meetings. Do you see that?
We're still going to it. Yes, I see.
Is the court there, my lady?
Yes, I'm there.
That column, or it's a row, I beg your pardon, well, it's a row in columns, says Mr. Mosenogi suggested that a meeting be held with district managers and some of them be part of the project. And then the next one says, meeting to take place on the 07/12/2015, and he will invite them to the meeting. Do you see that?
Yes.
Did you ever invite these district managers to the meeting?
Actually, I asked for a slot in their own meeting. And we did go, myself and Dr. Manamela and some team members, to their meeting to address them and brief them about the project.
So the district managers were briefed about the project?
Yes. And
yes.
Just to add, Judge, and some of them always attended when we reported back to the executive meeting. Some of the district managers always were part of that meeting.
Did any of them form part of the project team?
We did request, I'm not sure whether some of them did sign their letters, but we did provide letters for them to sign. So I'm not sure whether all of them signed, but there were those who were participating.
Okay.
As the court pleases, my lady, I'm just quickly trying to find a minute of, it's the resolutions. I seem to have lost the page number of those resolutions.
The ones that...
the resolutions of the MEC, it was... Come
again.
The resolutions of a meeting of the MEC in April 2016.
Okay.
I found it, my lady. It's at page 31803.
31803.
31803, that is correct, my lady. I'm just trying to find, yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is there. There is the fourth row. Fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth row. Do you see that, Mr. Msini?
Yes. 5. Yes.
What is that?
It reads, my lady. It's wait. At the top, my lady, it says resolution for the MEC meeting with senior managers on LE contract relationship termination. Date 8 April 2016. Venue MEC office.
Yes, I've got that.
As the court pleases, my lady. And then I have just referred the witness, my lady, to row number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What I want to refer the witness to is there is a name there of Mrs. Liruta. Do you see that, Mr. Musino?
Yes, I'm there.
Do you recall Mrs. Liruta? Please answer.
Yes, Mrs. Liruta is the chief director responsible for all districts. The district managers report to her.
So am I correct that Ms. Liruta was at a meeting which pertained to the contract relationship termination?
Yes.
And therefore the district managers were involved in the project?
Yes. If the resolution says chief directors of the district needs to be involved.
Okay.
You will recall during the cross-examination of Ms. Oka, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, she will correct me if it wasn't her. It was put to you that there were no medication. You remember that?
Yes.
It was also pertaining to the involvement of clinics. You remember that?
Yes.
And you testified that clinics fall under district managers. You remember that?
Yes.
Now, this resolution taken on 8 April 2016, it speaks of psychotropic drugs need to be made available at community services at all times. Chief directors of the districts need to be involved. Now, in the face of this resolution, who would have been responsible to make that these psychotropic drugs are available at community services?
As I said, in the district, there are mental health coordinators. They work under the leadership of the district managers. So they should have been responsible to ensure that that happens, that resolution happens.
Yes.
As the court pleases, my lady. Now, I'm almost done, my lady. You testified during the cross-examination by my learned colleague, Mr. Profi, that the department had shortchanged the NGOs. You remember that?
Yes.
And this was as a result of the time constraints. You remember that?
Yes.
Now, taking into account what we've been through, particularly that email of yours of 10 February 2016, where all these concerns were brought to the attention of the MEC, is there anything that you and the project team could have done to alleviate the time constraints that led to the short-changing of NGOs?
We could only try to do our best with the time limitations that we had.
I'm talking about any time constraints. Could you have removed the stumbling block of time constraints and have more time so that you could properly do the work?
No, we could not.
I'm going to ask you, just before he responds, I don't know whether it's from my side. I didn't pick that up, but I think as I'm looking at you now, at
My lady, you are breaking. My lady?
right?
My lady, you broke.
Is it me?
Yes, it is indeed you, my lady.
Does it still reflect the same?
Well, it appears that it may be resolved, my lady.
Is it the same situation?
Your line keeps breaking, my lady. Perhaps, should I recap, my lady?
Just a second. Okay, continue. Let me hear before. I wanted to leave the meeting, but if I'm fine now, then we can continue.
If I can just get an indication where her ladyship did not hear, so that I can start from there.
The very same question that you have just asked.
As the court.
I couldn't hear the whole of it. Yes, you broke at the beginning of it, and then I only got the last part of it.
Oh, let me just try and restart that question, my lady. Mr. Mosenoki, you remember that during the cross-examination of Mr. Profi, you testified that the NGOs were shortchanged. Mr. Mosenoki?
Yes,
yes, Mr. Mosenoki, this one I picked up. Yes, continue.
And then the shortchanging was as a result of the time constraints. You remember that?
Yes.
Now, I was saying to you, taking into account your email of February 2016, where everybody else, the clinicians, the HOD, the DDG, the project team, even Life Esidimeni's concerns were brought to the attention of the MEC to motivate for an extension of 6 months to a year. And yet the extension you received was only 3 months. Is there anything you could have done to deal with the problem of time constraints, which you have repeatedly considered that it was a problem for the successful implementation of the project?
No, nothing could have been done.
Thank you.
As the court pleases, my lady. Lady, I think I'm almost done. There's just two aspects that I wish to discuss with Ms. Matlape that arose in the cross-examination, I think, of Mr. What's his name? Shabangu, and yeah, just that, my lady. If we can just be given an indulgence of maybe 5 minutes, and then the witness steps out of the room, and then I conclude.
Okay,
As
that's fine.
As the court pleases, my lady, Mr. Musengu, can you please excuse us? As the court pleases, my lady.
Yes.
Mr. Musenuki, you remember yesterday Mr. Sibara mentioned a letter that had to do with the negotiations of Banning, which was sent together with that letter that was giving termination.
Yes.
Did you ever see that letter?
No.
As the court pleases, my lady, I have no further questions.
Thank you very much.
As the court pleases.
Thank you, Mr. Musenohi. For now, you'll be excused, and then we'll see when the others have legal representation because the cross-examination is reserved. You are therefore excused for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge.
As the court pleases me.
Mr. Late.
My lady.
Yes, it's now a few minutes before 1 o'clock. I don't know. Can we take this time to take the lunch adjournment, and then I don't know whether you will be ready we can resume at 2 o'clock. It's fine.
Okay, I just want to give some information to my learned friends regarding the next witness before we break for lunch. The next two witnesses on the sequential list of witnesses are not available at this stage to testify due to reasons that's not really necessary to burden the court now with. Rochelle Gordon and Hannah Jacobus will testify later.
It's who and who?
Hannah Jacobus, Rochelle Gordon and Hannah Jacobus will testify later.
Yes, they are not available, both of them, for now.
For now, the next witness is Nkeba Cynthia Sinelu.
Okay.
I just want to, I already uploaded a note at section 410 of the case lines regarding her statements. I just want to read into the record. Her first statement is 8:30 in the general statements. It's dated 17 January 2018 and on case lines pages 661 to 665. Now, there are several annexes to this statement which has been uploaded wrongly, and they have been re-uploaded on pages. There's NCS 1, that's first annexure, that is from on page 34834 to 34903.
34834.
Yeah.
342.
834 to 34903. My lady, this page has been uploaded in section 410 to be at the for the use of all the people. Then there's NCH2 that has been already.
Just a second. The first one is NCH1.
Yeah, NCS1.
NCS1. S1.
Yes.
Yes, that is on page 34834 to 34903.
That's correct. Then there's NCS2. That is the Advanced Health Institute's report. That is on pages 34679.
Yes.
To 34796.
Yes.
Then the next one is NCS3. That is on pages 34904.
Just a second. NCS3 on pages
34904.
Yes.
To 34924.
Yes.
Then NCS4 is on page 34925.
Yes.
To 34933.
Yes.
NCS5 is on 34934 to page 34936.
Yes.
NCS 6 is on page 34937 to 34977.
Yes.
NCS 7 is on page 34878. Sorry, 34978
Yes.
to 35011.
How many are these annexures?
Yeah, those are the annexes. The annexes found on case
So
line.
it's just a second. NCS 1 to NCS 7.
Those are annexes to the statement marked A30 that are
Yes.
on pages 661 to 665.
Okay.
The annexes found on pages 666 to 994 must be ignored. They are scanned wrongly.
So they must be ignored.
Yes.
That is from 666 to
994, yes, my lady.
to 994.
That's correct, my lady. The second statement
Just a
is
second.
A16.
Just a second.
Yes.
Yes, A16.
A16, and it's dated 19 February 2019. And it's found on case lines pages 503 to 512. 503 to 512.
Yes.
This statement is duplicated on pages 513 to 522. So the duplication should be ignored.
Duplicated on which pages?
513 to 522, just following the previous one.
Does it have annexures?
No, the annexure is in the statement itself.
Okay.
So when my colleagues refer to a second statement, they must just make sure that they use pages 503 to 512.
Okay.
Thank you, my lady.
Thank you very much. Is that the opportune time for us to take a lunch break?
I think so, my lady.
My lady.
Is the witness available to proceed after 2?
My lady, my hand is raised. If I
Can
may
I finish first, please? Is the witness available?
We must stand that from legal representative, my lady, because I arranged that we will testify from.
This is, let me see, Miss Senello. Who's the legal representative?
It's me, my lady.
You're invisible.
I wanted to ask if I can address you without my camera, Judge. I'm dressed, but I just have another challenge on my hands. My lady.
You will be properly dressed at 2 o'clock, ne?
No, I am properly dressed, my lady. I have a
but
different...
why can't we see you? Oh, okay.
I am properly dressed, my lady. My lady, if I may address you on the issue of the availability of the witness. I had my witness available yesterday, and because she's traveling from Krugersdorp, I said to her she should not travel until I've given her the indication. I was not clear on how long the witness, Mr. Mosonogi, still was going to give evidence. So if your ladyship would allow my witness to start on Monday morning, that would be preferable. But if your ladyship...
But this time that we're wasting, so we should wait for the witness on Monday.
My lady, the only challenge was that I was not sure how long Mr. Mosonogi is still going to give evidence. That was my challenge, my lady.
But that's not how we work. We have been trying to put witnesses, wait waiting every time, isn't it?
Indeed, so, my lady.
So it means you didn't liaise with your client.
I was with my client yesterday the whole day, my lady.
Yes, that we understand, but now we have to waste the whole afternoon. There's nothing that I can do, but this is the time that is being wasted.
My lady, may I ask if she comes from Krugersdorp?
She can be here too.
No, she can be here too. It's now lunchtime. She has a whole hour to travel from
Unless if your friend it's not telling us, maybe they're not yet ready. Ms. Kasim, do you want to say something with regard to this?
May it please the court, my lady. Yes, I just would like to request my learned friend, the evidence leader, to give us advanced warning of the changes in the witness schedule. We've been preparing first for Ms. Rochelle Gordon's cross-examination, and then we were told it was going to be Ms. Jacobus next. So we then moved preparing the cross-examination from Ms. Jacobus. We're only told now that it's Ms. Anello who will be testifying. And I'd like to request that we get advanced warning of the change of the witness schedule. If the evidence leader could please assist us with that.
Ms. Slade, you hear that?
If I may defend myself, I also got short notice that Ms. Jacobus is not available.
Can I, in the meantime, because I realized that maybe the others wouldn't have been prepared for this witness. Let me hear first Ms. Mbowen, but I think we can just leave them to start on Monday.
May it please the court,
taking
my
into
lady.
account the changes that
Indeed, so my lady, it definitely works to my benefit and that of my client, my lady, that the other,
when were you informed, Ms. Mbowen?
I was informed on Monday or Tuesday, my lady, and therefore the witness came to my chambers yesterday to be, she was ready yesterday to proceed, my lady.
No, I'm talking about the changes because I think the other day we were told about Miss Rochelle, and I didn't. Did he also mention Miss Johanna Jacobus?
I think it was about Tuesday, my lady, that I was informed. Yes, my lady.
No, it's fine. Although I'm just worried about the time that we are wasting. Because I think the others are not yet ready with regard to that, as the concern has been raised. Then we can adjourn these proceedings until on Monday morning.
I'm indebted to this court. May it please the court, my lady.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that will suit all of you. Yes.
I just inform the court it will not be me who lead the witness on Monday. Ms. Marriott will do the leading of the witness. I have a part of that matter in Brits that I have to attend to.
Okay. Thank you very much. I hope they will all be here on time. The proceedings will therefore be adjourned until Monday morning at 10 o'clock. What is the date for Monday? That will be the
22nd, my lady.
22nd. Yeah, time flies, eh? All right, thank you very much. These proceedings are adjourned until Monday, the 22nd of November, 2021. Thank you very much.
As the court pleases.
May it please the court, my lady.
As the court pleases.
As the court pleases, my lady.
Thank you.